welcome back to History in Minecraft. Today we're going to be talking about the cadaver synod, which was very wacky, I'll say that. And the gist of it is they put a corpse on trial. Let me just gather my thoughts. I have my stuffed pig right here so that I can pretend I'm not a maniac just talking to myself. I'm gonna move this pig right here, right on top of the screen. What's up, dude? So, the cadaver synod. Basically, the cadaver synod was, I guess a synod is like a trial, but for the papacy? I don't know. I'm kind of unclear on that. I didn't really look too much into it. But it's kind of like a trial. That's pretty much all you need to know. But anyways, cadaver synod, it was like mid-9th to mid-10th century, around that time. It was conducted by Pope Stephen VI on former Pope Formosus, who was technically his predecessor because the only pope between the two was Boniface the Sixth, I think. Boniface the Sixth, yeah. And he basically died after 2 weeks of becoming pope, so I don't think he really counts too much. Before we can actually talk about the synod and that whole issue, we kind of have to go back to the context of even before Formosus even became pope. Before Formosus, there was Pope John VIII. To say the least, John VIII and Formosus didn't really like each other much. John VIII accused Formosus of corrupting, I think it was Bulgarians. So he excommunicated him and all the people associated with him. For a while, Formosus was just not present in Rome since, he was excommunicated. Eventually, John VIII, pretty sure he just died, like a normal person, and the others were, the cardinals, called back Formosus. They were like, hey, so since he's dead, we can technically lift your excommunication, your exile, and be like, as long as you don't return to Rome, you can come back. But, they also elected him to become the Pope. So, I don't get how he's supposed to stay away from Rome at that point. But, to say the least, he was brought back. He was elected by the cardinals. And then comes the political drama, which is kind of the stem of why the whole synod happened in the first place. At this point, Lambert of Spoleto had been crowned the co-ruler of the Holy Roman Empire by Formosus, since his dad, Lambert's dad, was Guy the Third. Yeah, dude's name was just Guy the Third. So Guy the Third was already the ruler of the Holy Roman Empire, and Formosus just had to grant him the title of co-ruler. And Formosus didn't really like this much. Personally, he'd already had someone else in mind for the throne. That was a dude named Carolingian Arnulf of Carinthia. So Formosus has the brilliant idea of calling up Arnulf and being like, hey, so I don't really like the guy who's in charge of the Holy Roman Empire right now. Why don't you come over and take that spot from him? And Arnulf's like, alright, bet. So he tries to launch an invasion, and that fails. It fails pretty bad. So he just has to leave. But, in the end, he didn't really need to, because Guy the Third just dies, a month after or something. So at that point, there's, a vacancy in power, because Lambert's not really that powerful compared to whatever Guy the Third was doing. So Formosus calls up Arnulf again after a while, and he's like, okay, the dude's dead, you can come back and try again. So he does, and he actually succeeds this time. So Arnulf ends up taking the crown, and Lambert pretty much just loses his place as co-ruler. So after all this political drama, Formosus dies. Arnulf dies within a few weeks of him as well. So, there's two big spots of power pretty much open at that point. The papacy is open, and so is, the power vacuum in the Holy Roman Empire, because at this point, whatever rule that Arnulf had originally had over Rome, it's just quickly dwindling after his death. So Lambert, he wants to reassert his claim to the crown, pretty much, because, you know, even though he was originally the ruler, since Arnulf had won the crown over, he kind of lost the right to it. So now he's pissed about that, and he wants to find a way to, you know, get that right back. So he goes to Stephen VI, who at this point is, like, declared pope, because, remember, Boniface VI, like, immediately died. Like, I don't even know what he did in his time, his 2 weeks of being pope, but... So Stephen VI is in charge, and Lambert goes up to him, and he's like, okay, I want you to put Formosus on trial so that I can get my crown back. And mind you, Formosus is still dead. The dude is 6 feet under, and he has been for a while, and they still want to put him on trial. And Stephen VI just agrees to this. He's like, you know what? That seems like a good idea. I'll do that. So he goes and pretty much digs up his body, and the accusation against him is, one, for committing perjury, and then the second one was that he'd used the bishop office when he was still a layman, because before he'd been exiled, he was a bishop. Pretty much he's saying that he wasn't technically a bishop when he used that power. There was a quote from Stephen VI to the corpse of Formosus, mind you. When you were bishop at Porto, why did you usurp the universal Roman see in such a spirit of ambition? And that was his main point going into the synod. So they dig up the dude's corpse. They sit him up on a throne. They have to hire a deacon to speak for the corpse, because, you know, it's a corpse. It's not going to say much. So there's just a dude in the council room talking for a dead man, which, you know, kind of awkward, but you gotta do what you gotta do. They go through the whole trial with this corpse just sitting there on the throne, and they find the corpse guilty. Formosus is declared guilty by the end of the synod. Absolutely whack. But they end up taking all of its clothes, or stripping it of its vestments. Apparently that's just the clothing. And then they also cut off the 3 blessing fingers that he'd used when he was alive to bless people. And that's pretty much the thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger on his right hand. So now you have a naked corpse missing 3 fingers on one hand. And it's the former pope. And they just did that. So pretty much after they did that, they invalidated all of his acts and ordinations from when he was alive. So Formosus, everything he did was just down the drain. Eventually they put the body back into a graveyard, but not the graveyard where he was originally buried. They put him into a graveyard meant for foreigners. So it was like a major step down from where he was originally buried. But then even then, eventually they just dug him up again, and they were like, let's tie weights to his legs and throw him in the Tiber River. And they did. So his body's just lost. Apparently it washed up someplace, and now they use it, and they used it for blessings. I didn't look too much into that part, but I did briefly skim over it. His body did wash up somewhere after, you know, floating down the river. Oh yeah, after all this whole thing is a shit show. The public opinion is just absolutely against Stephen VI. Nobody likes him for that. They're like, why would you do that? That's hella fucked up. They throw him in prison, and eventually they sentence him to strangulation. Which, you know, that's kind of brutal, but I guess it's not the worst way that they've killed people. Because, you know, it's the Catholic Church, but oh, still. Strangulation, not the best way to go out, but what can you do? Oh yeah, the reason that they'd imprison him was after the whole public opinion had gone to shit. They ended up having an uprising against him. They just grabbed him. After this whole cadaver synod, 2 other popes tried to, I guess in a way, pardon Formosus. It was Pope Theodore II and John IX, and they both tried to annul the cadaver synod. They also tried to put in the rule that you can't put a corpse on trial because it's dead. You know, that makes sense. it does make sense. But then Sergius the Third, oh yeah, these guys are all popes, by the way. Sergius the Third shows up, and he overturns both of their rulings. He's like, you know what? Fuck that Formosus dude. He is now condemned again. And, you know, since he is the pope at that point, he can do that. So basically, their rulings are just gone. Oh yeah, to mention, 7 of the cardinals that were involved in the cadaver synod were excommunicated, just because of how unpopular the whole thing was, because, you know, that's a major shit show, to say the least. There's an argument from Joseph Durr in 1932 and Girolamo Arnaldi, pretty much Lambert and what's his face, Formosus. So Lambert is that one guy who wanted the crown back from the Holy Roman Empire. They said that they actually had a good relationship, and it wasn't until Lambert's cousin, Guy the Fourth, when he came over and fucked shit up by just attacking. I'm not sure what he attacked in their theory, but he did attack something, and in doing so, he kind of made Formosus be like, okay, I guess I've got to do something about this now. So in doing so, he had to, you know, take away Lambert's crown and all that. And that was the whole reason that they'd been in bad relations in the end. But, like, who knows? These guys are from 1932 making these points. Who's to say? Anyways, I think that's about all that I have for the cadaver synod. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, this is the boring part. Last time I did this when I was just recording, so none of it was actually seen. So this time I'm just gonna hopefully narrate it correctly when I'm writing it out. Oh, also, speaking of the Catholic Church, did you know that hell is actually cold and not fiery? I'm not saying this from personal experience, but according to Dante's Inferno, there's only 2 instances of fire throughout the entire book, and there's a whole ring of hell dedicated to just ice. So technically, when hell freezes over, it's already frozen. Just a little fun fact for y'all. Probably not the best segue from Catholic Church to hell, but you know. Anyways, let's write this book now. Let's see. Please fill in. Let's go. That's what she said. Anyways, cadaver synod. Bada bing, bada boom. This is very fun. I'm researching all of this instead of actually doing my government homework, but you know, who needs the government when you can learn about dead popes? If you're new to this channel, I am just a history nerd, and I have no credentials, just to let you know, but I do like history, so I will be talking about history a lot. This is the whole point of this entire channel. But if you are in world history, or even in AP US history, I will be covering a lot of topics that could potentially be helpful for those tests. Or if you're just in a history class, it's always fun, and I'm playing Minecraft, so, but you know how you're always like procrastinating, and it's like, I'm just gonna watch a Minecraft video, and I will be studying, but then you never actually do the studying and you just watch the Minecraft video. Well, I'm here to bring you the best of both worlds. This is just what Hannah Montana wanted. This is it for today's episode, and hopefully I'll be able to get another one up next time in hopefully not too long. I'm still debating what the next topic is going to be. I might be talking about Nixon, because what a stupid, stupid man. Stupid, stupid man. If you did stick around for the stream, thank you. I really appreciate you, and I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful week as well.